May 11th, May 11th, May 11th, 1988. Hey, happy birthday, Amber. Now, Amber, birthdays were made for little girls like you with long blonde hair and eyes of blue. Of grandchildren, I have quite a few, but none of them are just like you. Ha! Fooled you, didn't I? You thought I was going to say as nice as you, or as sweet as you, or as pretty as you, didn't you, huh? But if I did, 12 more would yell, how about me? And so, you see, we'll let it be. Now then, you always used to like for me to tell you the story about Little Miss Muffet. Yeah, I know, you think you're too big for that now. And so you are. So I'm going to tell you another one. And this is the hardest poem that I think I have ever read, so I'll probably ball it all up for you. But it's called The Embarrassing Episode of Little Miss Muffet. And it was wrote by Guy Whitmore Carroll, a popular American poet of the 1980s. Little Miss Muffet discovered a tuppet, which never occurred to the rest of us. And as 'twas a June day and just about noonday, she wanted to eat like the best of us. Her diet was whey, and I hasten to say it is wholesome and people grow fat on it. The spot being lonely, the lady not only discovered the tuppet, but sat on it. A rivulet dabbled and sighed her and babbled, as rivulets always are thought to do, and dragonflies spurted around and cavorted, as poets say dragonflies ought to do. When glancing aside for a moment she spied a horrible sight that brought fear to her. A hideous spider was sitting beside her, and most unavoidably near to her. Said, Madam, I earnestly vow to you, I'm penitent that I did not bring the hat. I should otherwise certainly bow to you. Though anxious to please, he was so ill at ease that he lost all his sense of propriety, and grew so inept that he clumsily stepped in her plate, which is barred in society. This curious error completed her terror. She shuddered, and growing much paler, not only left Tuppet, but dealt him a buffet, which doubled him up in a sailor knot. It should be explained that at this he was pained. He cried, I have vexed you, no doubt of it. Your fist like a truncheon. You're still in my luncheon, was all that she answered. Get out of it. And the moral is this, be it madam or miss, to whom you have something to say, you are only observed when you get in the curd, but you're rude when you get in the way. What a glaring mistake I did make. Did you notice? And I'm sure you did. I said it was wrote by Guy Whitmore Carroll. I certainly should have said written. But I'm not going to do it over. So just remember, I make mistakes. Although everyone says I won't admit it. Now here's one that you'll only find in old books of poems or rhymes. It's called Judged by the Company One Keeps. One night in late October, when I was far from sober, returning with my load with manly pride, my feet began to stutter, so I lay down in the gutter, and a pig came near and lay down by my side. A lady passing by was heard to say, you can tell a man who boozes by the company he chooses, and the pig got up and slowly walked away. And nobody knows who wrote that. But pretty nice, I thought. Pretty true, huh? Here's another poem by an unknown author. Years ago, people wrote so many things, and as it come down through the years, nobody seems to remember who did it. The name of this is Art. The hen remarked to the mooly cow as she cackled her daily lay. That is, the hen cackled. It's funny how I'm good for an egg a day. I'm a fool to do it, for what do I get? My food and my lodging? My. But the poodle gets fat. He's the household pet. And he never has laid a single egg yet, not even when eggs are high. The mooly cow remarked to the hen as she masticated her cud. That is, the cow did. Well, what then? You quit and your name is mud. I'm good for 8 gallons of milk each day, and I'm given my stable and grub. But the parrot gets that much anyway. All she can gobble, and what does she pay? Not a dribble of milk, the dud. But the hired man remarked to the pair, you get all that's coming to you. The poodle does tricks, and the parrot can swear, which is better than you can do. You're necessary, but what's the use of bewailing your daily part? Your borgerous working's your only excuse. You can't do nothing but just produce. What them fellers does is art. Now I'm going to read you some things from this old 1912 book, which was the year that I was born. So this book I'm looking at is 75 years old. It's called William's Choice Literature, Book 1. And if they do not say Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, they say Child's Thought of a Star by Jane Taylor. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are, up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. When the glorious sun is set, and the grass with dew is wet, then you show your little light, twinkle, twinkle, all the night. Then, if I were in the dark, I would thank you for your spark. I could not see which way to go, if you did not twinkle so. In the dark blue sky you keep, and often through my curtains peep, for you never shut your eye till the sun is in the sky. As your bright and tiny spark guides the traveler in the dark, though I know not what you are, twinkle, twinkle, little star. I think that's prettier than the way we do it now, don't you, Amber? I'm going to read you this little poem by Philip H. Lord called Your Church and Mine. You go to your church and I'll go to mine, but let's walk along together. Our Father has built them side by side, so let's walk along together. The road is rough and the way is long, but we'll help each other over. You go to your church and I'll go to mine, but let's walk along together. You go to your church and I'll go to mine, but let's walk along together. Our Heavenly Father is the same, so let's walk along together. The chimes of your church ring loud and clear. They chime with the chimes of my church. You go to your church and I'll go to mine, but let's walk along together. You go to your church and I'll go to mine, but let's walk along together. Our Heavenly Father loves us all, so let's walk along together. The Lord will be at my church today, but He'll be at your church also. You go to your church and I'll go to mine, but let's walk along together. Harry Romaine had the same idea, but he said it a little bit different. His poem goes like this. While to the synagogue there came a Jew to praise Jehovah's name. The one great God looked down and smiled and counted each his loving child. For Turk and Brahmin, monk and Jew had reached him through the gods they knew. Now here's a little bit of I Remember When. I remember when I was a very little girl, and my daddy used to sing to me this little song. Stem, stem, pom, nickel, lolly, giggle, roller, bolly, rick, dum, bony, won't you cry me, oh, cry-me-nero, Captain K-Row, cry-me, won't you cry me, oh, with the stem, stem, pom, nickel, lolly, giggle, roller, bolly, rick, dum, bony, won't you cry me, oh, I hung my banjo on a tree, a rig-dum-bony, won't you cry me, yo. A lot of bits my banjo fell down to the ground, and a lot of bitsy banjos sprung up all around. A rig-dum-bony, won't you cry me, yo. Cry-me-nero, Captain K-Row. Cry-me, won't you cry me, yo. With a stem, stem, tom, and nickel, lolla, giggle, roly, boly, rig-dum-bony, won't you cry me, yo. That's quite a tongue twister, believe you me. Amber, you just try, see if you do that any better than me. I stammered around. I always liked that because my daddy played the banjo, and I always wondered if it had dropped to the ground, if a lot of bits of banjos would spring up all around, but I never quite dared to do it. Remember how I taught you to do your fingers and your toes, like my daddy used to do me? And I always wanted you to remember those little rhymes so that you could teach them to your little boys and girls someday, because I don't think you'll find anybody else except maybe an Anderson that knows anything about this way of doing your fingers and your toes. And he'd take my big toe and he'd say, big toe, Totila, Tila Toso, Croconoso, and Little Bitty Toso. Then he'd say, let's name your fingers. Thumbasop, Slicky Pop, Longy Man, Steffi Ann, and Little Vicky Beanie. I thought that was funny, and all the kids I've taught that to think that's very, very funny. My daddy's mama, or his daddy, taught it to him, and I think it must have been originated in Sweden, where my daddy's mother and daddy lived many long years ago. They didn't even come to the United States till they were about 30 years old. So I don't really know for sure that it came from them from Sweden, but I like to think so. Well, remember now, when you have boys and girls, be sure and teach them the real way to name your fingers and your toes. I am going to read you a poem called The Duel by Eugene Field. It was first published in 1889, but I am reading from a 1914 edition. I always thought that the name of this poem was The Gingham Dog and the Calico Cat, and maybe it is called that in some books. The gingham dog and the calico cat side by side on the table sat. 'Twas 12:30, and what do you think? Nor one nor the t'other had slept a wink. The old Dutch clock and the Chinese plate appeared to know as sure as fate there was going to be a terrible spat. I wasn't there. I simply stayed what was told to me by the Chinese plate. The gingham dog went bow wow wow, and the calico cat replied meow. The air was littered an hour or so with bits of gingham and calico, while the old Dutch clock in the chimney place up with its hands before its face, for it always dreaded a family row. Now mind you, I'm only telling you what the old Dutch clock declares is true. The Chinese plate looked very blue and wailed, oh dear, what shall we do? But the gingham dog and the calico cat wallowed this way and tumbled that, employing every tooth and claw in the awfulest way you ever saw. And oh, how the gingham and calico flew. Don't fancy I exaggerate. I got my news from the Chinese plate. Next morning, where the two had sat, they found no trace of dog or cat. And some folks think, and to this day, that burglars stole that pair away. But the truth about the cat and pup is this: they ate each other up. Now, what do you really think of that? The old Dutch clock, it told me so, and that is how I came to know. Amber, if you ever get a chance to get a Eugene Field book, don't you dare pass it up, because it's got such good things. He wrote a lot of these for his own boys and girls. I think he had 3 girls and 5 boys. Anyway, he had a big bunch of them, and he just loved kids. And wherever he went, the kids took right up with him, and he preferred their company to grown-ups. The one I'm going to tell you now is Just for Christmas. Father calls me William. Sister calls me Will. Mother calls me Willie, but the fellers call me Bill. Mighty glad I ain't a girl, I'd rather be a boy, without them sashes, curls, and things that's worn by Fauntleroy. Love to chalk green apples and go swimming in the lake. Hate to take the castor oil they give for bellyache. Most all the time, the whole year round, there ain't no flies on me, but just for Christmas I'm as good as I can be. Got a yellow dog named Sport. Stick him on the cat. First thing she knows, she doesn't know where she is at. Got a clipper sled, and when us kids goes out to slide, along comes the grocery cart, and we all hook a ride. But sometimes when the grocery man is worried and cross, he reaches at us with his whip and lops up his horse. And then I laugh and holler, oh, you never touched me. But just for Christmas, I'm as good as I can be. Grandma says she hopes that when I get to be a man, I'll be a missionary like her oldest brother Dan, as was et up by the cannibals that lived in the Silent Isle, where every prospect pleases and only man is vile. But Grandma, she has never been to see a Wild West show, nor read the life of Daniel Boone, or else I guess she'd know that Buffalo Bill and Cowboys is good enough for me, except just for Christmas, when I'm good as I can be. And then old Sport, he hangs around so solemnly and still. His eyes, they seem a-saying, "What's the matter, little Bill?" The old cat sneaks off her perch and wonders what become of them two enemies of hern that used to make things But I am so polite and tend so earnestly to biz that Mother says to Father how improved our Willie is. But Father, having been a boy himself, suspicions me when just for Christmas I'm as good as I can be. For Christmas, with its lots and lots of candies, cakes, and toys, was made, they say, for proper kids and not for naughty boys. So wash your face and brush your hair and mind your P's and Q's. And don't bust out your pantaloons and don't wear out your shoes. Say yes'm to the ladies and yes sir to the men. And when there's company, don't flash your pay or tie it in. But thinking of the things you'd like to see upon that tree, just before Christmas, be as good as you can be. When I was about 5 and your Auntie Helen was about 2, they used to have a lot of programs at Christmas time. Great big Christmas tree, and then the kids would all put on little programs, not like the kind that they put on today, that all the kids, the young and the old, they'd all get up and they'd have recitations, they called them, little poems that they had memorized and said. And I remember this particular time, it was the biggest Christmas tree I think I ever saw. But anyway, Helen was little and she was, I think, about 2, and she was wearing a little black taffeta dress. As I look back on it now, I wonder why black. But anyway, she was awful cute, and she said this: "Here I stand on my 2 little feet. Don't you think I'm kind of sweet?" I have no idea what I said, but I had one too. And my cousin Fern, who was Helen's age, she said something, but I don't remember what that was either. But I remember Helen saying that. Well, that time Santa Claus busted through a window with a big bag of toys, and everybody got toys and great big sacks. Not like these little bitty bags that Santa Claus has to give out today, but great big stockings plumb full of all kinds of candy and apples and toys and things. And everybody got one. You see, Santa Claus, I guess he didn't have so many kids to take care of then. The world keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger as far as people are concerned. And so it takes too much candy to go around. And poor old Santa Claus, I guess he just can't get it all made. Well, of course, now Mrs. Claus probably makes most of that stuff with the help of the elves, of course. Okay, you can laugh, but I know what I know. Those Santa Claus and his elves, everybody's so busy for a whole year, and you be sure and tell your kids that I told you so. Well, that Christmas I just got through telling you about was at the Greenvale School. And I knew almost everybody there because my older cousins and aunt and uncle went to school there. Aunt Arvilla, that you know now, she went to school out there, and Hazel, my cousin Hazel, and a whole bunch of them, my Uncle Alvin, and all of them that were of school age, anywhere from 1st grade to 8th grade, went out there at Greenvale School. So that's where that was. Now then, I'm going to tell you about another Christmas I remember, and I was really little. By the way, though, I guess I better correct my age a little bit there, because if Helen was about 2, then I'd be about 7. So those dates back there were a little wrong. I think I said she was 2 and I was 5, but that can't be, because I am 5 years older than she is. Well, this time it was Christmas time, and Mother and Daddy and me and Helen were going to spend Christmas with Grandpa and Grandma Fowler out on Wyatt's North Ranch. And Grandpa was the foreman out there for a number of years, and there was a lot of sheep out there. We don't have sheep on our ranches around here, do we? But anyway, they did have a lot of a lot of sheep out there on Wyatt's North Ranch. This particular Christmas, I can't tell you how old I was, but I guess I was quite a lot younger. It's probably the Christmas before the one I just told you about. But anyway, they had a program at a schoolhouse and a big Christmas tree and Santa Claus and everything. Well, I'd tell you, it was an exciting time around Christmas when you got to go to those kind of programs, but I didn't know anybody there, not even one cousin or anybody. All I knew was Grandpa and Grandma, and, well, I did know Aunt Arvilla and my Uncle Alvin, because they lived on the range too. But they were the only people that I knew, and so I wasn't expecting any presents at all. And I was so surprised when here comes Santa Claus down passing out presents. And besides a great big sack of candy and oranges and nuts and little toys inside, was a present for me. And I opened it up, and it was a little china outhouse, old-fashioned outhouse. Well, in those days, they weren't so old-fashioned. Everybody had them, it seemed. This one was so cute. It was made out of china, and the door really opened, and when you looked inside, there was a little boy or girl sitting on the pot. I don't remember whether it was a boy or a girl, but it was real pretty, and I was so proud of it. And that was from my Grandpa and Grandma Fowler. And then here comes Santa Claus again, and he had another little present for me, and that was from Mother and Daddy, and it was a real china doll. Gee, what I'd give for that china doll today. You can see pictures of them in antique magazines. Mine looked just exactly like that. They had a name for them, and if I was a real antique bug, I'd be able to tell you what it was. But anyway, it was my doll, and I loved it, and I have no idea what happened to it. Now, when Santa Claus came that night, I haven't the foggiest idea what he brought. I don't remember a thing, because the highlight of that Christmas was getting those 2 toys and that sack from Santa Claus at that program. Another Christmas, when we lived in Woodward, and I don't really know whereabouts in Woodward anymore, and I don't really know how old I was, but it was the year that I got a little red table and chairs and a little cook stove that looked just like my Grandma Anderson's big old range. That was quite a Christmas, and I remember it was awful, awful cold, and there were 2 big boys that lived next door, and I'm sure I have no idea whether they were as old as they seemed to me, but boy, they were grown-up boys, and they were holding me up high so I could break giant icicles off of the eaves of the house. Well, that was quite a Christmas for me, and I had that red table and chairs for years and years, and the cook stove too. Where does all that stuff go to? I'll never know. But anyway, I don't remember too many Christmases, but that was one that I really do. And another one I remember was when Grandma Anderson gave all her grandchildren $1 for Christmas. And I think I counted up one time, and she had about 30 grandchildren at that time. So there went $30, huh? Anyway, what makes me remember that Christmas is she gave them to us in walnut shells glued together. And they hung on the tree like decorations. And I had no idea that inside of that walnut, big old English walnut, was going to be $1 bill. Then one year, I remember that she gave them in silver dollars. I'd like to have that silver dollar now, too. One time, though, I did have, even after we moved to Canadian, I had 3 pennies that my Grandpa Anderson had given to me in a little blue pill box. Not very big. It's big enough to put 3 pennies in. And they were, when they first come out with those pennies of 1912. And that was my birth year, and he had gave me those 3 pennies. And they're among the things they're among my lost souvenirs. I have no idea where. I wouldn't have thought I would have lost them, but, you know, things do get lost even when you like to keep them. Then I remember that as far as I know, Santa Claus only came to us one time on Christmas Eve. A lot of kids had their presents on Christmas Eve and was out playing with them and everything, but we were a stickler for opening up your presents on Christmas morning, running and finding out what Santa Claus had left. But this one time, and I have no idea why, and I have no idea why when I got older I didn't find out about these things, but it never occurred to me. But this time, Santa Claus was going to come in the evening. And I don't know whether Mother and Daddy had a little conversation with him and knew that he was coming or what. But anyway, Mother said that Daddy had work, and we were going to go to church, and they were having a little program and everything. And she said, you can open up this little present. I don't know, I suppose Helen had one too, but something that she could open up. But anyway, I could open up this present on Christmas Eve and wear it to church. And what do you think it was? It was not a dress. No, sir. It was a gold ring. A real gold ring and a real ruby. That was the prettiest ring I ever saw. Ember, I think I was about your age. I'm not sure about that either, but I think maybe that I was about your age. And I'll always remember that. But you know what? I do not remember what it was that we found that Santa Claus brought when we got back home that night. Of course, Daddy, he come home from work. We come home from church, and Santa Claus had been there. But I don't know what he brought. It does seem to me kind of like maybe Helen got a doll buggy and a doll. But I couldn't say for sure about that. But I'm sure he brought something. And I should remember it. But I don't. I've got a wonderful memory for a lot of nonsense stuff, but when it comes down to things I'd really like to have, well, I don't remember. I just don't remember. Well, if the tape holds out, I'm going to tell you Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod. This is also by Eugene Field. You can see this in Stories Today, I'm sure, some of the storybooks. But anyway, here it goes. Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod one night sailed off in a wooden shoe, sailed on a river of crystal light into a sea of dew. Where are you going, and what do you wish? The old moon asked the three. We've come to fish for the herring fish that live in this beautiful sea. Nets of silver and gold have we, said Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod. The old moon laughed and sang a song, and they rocked in the wooden shoe. And the wind that sped them all night long ruffled the waves of dew. The little stars were the herring fish that lived in that beautiful sea. Now cast your nets wherever you wish. Never afeard are we. So cried the stars to the fishermen three, Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod. All night long their nets they threw to the stars and the twinkling foam. Then down from the skies came the wooden shoe, bringing the fishermen home. 'Twas all so pretty a sail it seemed as if it could not be, and some folks thought 'twas a dream they'd dreamed of sailing that beautiful sea. But I shall name you the fishermen three, Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod. Now Winkin' and Blinkin' are two little eyes, and Nod is a little head. And the wooden shoe that sailed the skies is a wee one's trundle bed. So shut your eyes while Mother sings of wonderful sights that be, and you shall see the beautiful things as you rock in the misty sea, where the old shoe rocked the fishermen three, Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod. Better skip this until after you play side 2, because I run out of tape on the other side. And we go back to Casey at the bat. The last line was, now the air is shattered by the force of Casey's blow. Oh, somewhere in this favored land the sun is shining bright. The band is playing somewhere, and somewhere hearts are light. And somewhere men are laughing, and somewhere children shout. But there's no joy in Mudville. Mighty Casey has struck out.